Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and the Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany.
Thank you very much. Chancellor Merkel, it is a great honor to welcome you to the People's House, the White House. Our two nations share much in common, including our desire for security, prosperity, and peace. We just concluded a productive meeting with the German and American companies to discuss workforce development and vocational training, very important words. Germany has done an incredible job training the employees and future employees and employing its manufacturing and industrial workforce. It's crucial that we provide our American workers with a really great employment outlook. And that includes making sure that we harness the full potential of women in our economy. My administration is in the process of rebuilding the American industrial base. A stronger America is in the interest, believe me, of the world as a whole. I reiterated to Chancellor Merkel my strong support for NATO, as well as the need for our NATO allies to pay their fair share for the cost of defense. Many nations owe vast sums of money from past years, and it is very unfair to the United States. These nations must pay what they owe. During our meeting, I thanked Chancellor Merkel for the German government's commitment to increase defense spending and work toward contributing at least 2% of GDP. I want to thank the Chancellor for her leadership in supporting NATO and its efforts in Afghanistan. This has come at significant cost, including the lives of over 50 German soldiers whose sacrifice we greatly honor. I also appreciate Chancellor Merkel's leadership, along with the French president, to resolve the conflict in Ukraine, where we ideally seek a peaceful solution. Most importantly, our two countries must continue to work together to protect our people from radical Islamic terrorism and to defeat ISIS. I applaud Chancellor Merkel for Germany's contributions, both civilian and military, as a counter-ISIS coalition member. We also recognize that immigration security is national security. We must protect our citizens from those who seek to spread terrorism, extremism, and violence inside our borders. Immigration is a privilege, not a right. And the safety of our citizens must always come first, without question. Over lunch, the Chancellor and I will talk about our economic partnership. We must work together towards fair and reciprocal trade policies that benefit both of our peoples. Millions of hardworking U.S. citizens have been left behind by international commerce, and together we can shape a future where all of our citizens have a path to financial security. The United States will respect historic institutions, and we will also recognize the right of free people to manage their own destiny. The close friendship between America and Germany is built on our shared values. We cherish individual rights, we uphold the rule of law, and we seek peace among nations. Our alliance is a symbol of strength and cooperation to the world. It is the foundation of a very, very hopeful future. Thank you.
Sehr geehrter Herr
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure and privilege to be here today in the White House together with President Donald Trump and have a first personal one-on-one meeting and an exchange of views. In the period leading up to this visit, I've always said it's much, much better to talk to one another and not about one another, and I think our conversation proved this. We talked about the international situation. We talked about also apprenticeship programs when we met with CEOs and apprentices around a round table. As regards the shared interests that we have, let me look back into the past. We, the Germans, owe a lot to the United States of America, particularly as regards the economic rise of Germany. This was primarily due to the help through the Marshall Plan. We were also able to regain German unity after decades of the United States standing up for this together with other allies and standing by our side during the period of the Cold War. And we are very gratified to know that today we can live in peace and freedom as a unified country due to that. So I was gratified to know that the President underlined how important he thinks NATO is. NATO is of prime importance for us, and it was not without very good reason that we said during our summit meeting in Wales that also Germany needs to increase expenditure. We committed to this 2% goal until 2024. Last year we increased our defense spending by 8%, and we're going to work together again and again on this. And we said that obviously defense and security has a lot of different assets and facets to it. On the one hand, it's supporting missions in Africa, for example. It's also promoting development assistance, but it's also helping missions in Africa, for example, in trying to stand up for their own safety and security. We continue to be in conversation. What was important for us today was that we were able to talk about Afghanistan, talk about what, as the President quite rightly said, the continuing mission of Germany in Afghanistan. I am very glad that the United States are intending to continue to commit to the Afghan mission as well. Together we fight against Islamist terrorism. Germany is going to step up its work and is going to continue its work in Afghanistan and also in Syria. We're going to monitor the situation there very closely. We're going to work on political solutions in Syria, but also in Libya, what we talked about. I am very gratified to know that the American administration and also the President personally commit himself to the Minsk process. We need to come to a solution of this problem. There has to be a safe and secure solution for Ukraine, but the relationship with Russia has to be improved as well. Once the situation there on the ground is clarified, Minsk is a good basis, but unfortunately we haven't made yet the headway that we want to, but we are going to work together with our experts in the next few months to come on this issue. I am also here in my capacity as G20 President. You know that we will be hosting the G20 the G20 summit, this year, and I'm very pleased that the President has committed to attending this summit. We're going to talk at some length over lunch about the issues. We say trade has to be rendered fairer. There has to be a win-win situation. We can talk about the details of that. We've already seen today when we had an exchange with our CEOs and also with our apprentices what sort of potential we can tap, what sort of potential our two economies have. It's very moving to see, particularly meeting with these young people, what sort of work towards the future is being done by our companies there. So particularly in this period where we're transiting from traditional manufacturing to Industry 4.0, capacity building, skills are so important, incidentally, not only for young people, but also for those who maybe have lost their jobs and need to be reskilled in order to find a job again. And that is an issue I know is very important for you here in the United States, but it's also important for us in Germany. So I can say there are a number of issues where we will continue to cooperate very closely on the level of our experts, but also on our level. We had a very good first exchange of views, so I'm very much looking forward to the talks we will have over lunch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll do a couple of questions. Mark Halpern.
Mr. President, thank you. A lot of Americans now have anxiety, like 8 years ago, as the government here debates what to do about health care. So I'm wondering if you can tell people what your bottom lines are, what's non-negotiable. You talked in the past about saying no one should be denied health insurance if they can't afford it. You talked about
The gentleman needs to use a microphone.
Are those your part of your bottom line? Would you veto any piece of legislation that violated those? Madam Chancellor, that's for you. President Trump's got a different style than the most recent past U.S. president. I'm wondering what you think of that style. If you think it's good for the world, or if you've got any reservations. Thanks both.
Thank you, Mark. We just have a really wonderful group of people meeting later. We met with 12 pretty much no's in Congress. You saw that a little while ago, and they went from all no's to all yeses. And we have a lot of yeses coming in. It's all coming together. We're going to have great health care. It's going to be passed, I believe, I think substantially and pretty quickly. It's coming together beautifully. You have the conservative groups, you have other groups, everybody wants certain things. In the end, we're going to have a great health care plan. Now, I have to tell you that Obamacare is a disaster. It's failing. I was in Tennessee. We had a tremendous crowd the other night, and they have half of the state is uncovered. The insurance companies have left, and the other half has one insurance company, and that'll probably be bailing out pretty soon also. They have nobody. You have many states where they have one, and you have a lot of places now where they'll have none. Obamacare will fail. It will fold. It will close up very, very soon if something isn't done. I've often said politically the best thing I can do is absolutely nothing. Wait 1 year, and then even the Democrats will come say, please, please, you got to help us. But it's not the right thing to do for the people. We have a great plan. We have a plan that's getting more and more popular with the Republican base, with the conservative base, and with people generally. The press has covered it very inaccurately. People are truly covered well, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be a model to be looked upon. I'll tell you after we're finished.
Ja, danke schön.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm here as Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany. I represent German interests. I speak with the President of the United States, who, well, stands up for, as is right, American interests. That is our task, respectively. And I must say that I was very gratified to know the very warm and gracious hospitality with which I've been received here. We held a conversation where we were trying to address also those areas where we disagree, but to try to bring people together, try to show what is our vantage point, what is the American vantage point, and then try to find a compromise which is good for both sides, because we need to be fair with each other. Each and everyone is expecting for his or her leader that something good comes out of it for their own people. For Germany, I can say, well, people are different. People have different abilities, have different characteristics, traits of character, have different origins, have found their way into politics along different pathways, which, well, that is diversity, which is good. Sometimes it's difficult to find compromises, but that's what we've been elected for. If everything just went like that without problem, well, you didn't need politicians to do these jobs.
Frau Dunz.
Ms. Dunz, please. Christina Dunz from the German press agency. Madam Chancellor, given the experience of the GDR, you are always saying that you are so confident that walls can fall also. For how dangerous do you think this isolationist policy of the U.S. president is, what with the import tariffs that he plans, and also with the fact that he doesn't think the EU doesn't deal with the EU in a very respectful way? And Mr. President, America first, don't you think that this is going to weaken also the European Union? And why are you so scared of diversity in the news and in the media, that you speak so often of fake news, and that things, after all, in the end cannot be proven? For example, the fact that you have been wiretapped by Mr. Obama.
Nice, friendly reporter. Well, first of all, I don't believe in an isolationist policy, but I also believe a policy of trade should be a fair policy. And the United States has been treated very, very unfairly by many countries over the years, and that's going to stop. But I'm not an isolationist. I'm a free trader, but I'm also a fair trader. And our free trade has led to a lot of bad things happening. You look at the deficits that we have, and you look at all of the accumulation of debt. We're a very powerful country. We're a very strong country. We'll soon be at a level that we perhaps have never been before. Our military is going to be strengthened. It's been depleted. But I am a trader. I am a fair trader. I am a trader that wants to see good for everybody worldwide. But I am not an isolationist by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't know what newspaper you're reading, but I guess that would be another example of, as you say, fake news.
Also ich möchte es einfach mal so.
Well, allow me, if I may, to put it in the following terms. We haven't yet had time to talk at a great length about economic issues, but I would say that the success of Germany in the economic area, but also on security and peace, that the success of Germans have always been one where the German success is one side of the coin, and the other side of the coin has been European unity and European integration. That's something of which I'm deeply convinced, and I'm not only saying this back home, I'm saying this here, I'm saying it in the United States and also here in Washington in my talks with the President. Secondly, I believe that globalization ought to be shaped in an open-minded way, but also in a very fair way. Freedom of movement within the European Union, for example, is a very important element of our economic progress, of peace, has been for many, many decades. The European countries for many, many centuries waged wars against each other. We have to protect our external borders and there we have to work on the basis of mutual interest with our neighbors. Migration, immigration, integration has to be worked on. Obviously, traffickers have to be stopped, but this has to be done by looking at the refugees as well, giving them opportunities to shape their own lives where they are, help countries who right now are not in an ability to do so, sometimes because they have civil war. I think that's the right way of going about it, and this is obviously what we have an exchange of views about. But my position is the one that I've just set out for you.
I might add that we have many plants and factories coming back into the United States. Many jobs are coming back to Michigan, to Ohio, to Pennsylvania, to a lot of places where they were losing jobs. And we will have a different policy, but it's going to be a great policy for not only the United States, but a great policy worldwide. And I look very much forward to it. Kevin Cerulli.
Exactly where do you think we're unified this Republican Party? And then in terms of trade, what areas of common ground do you think we'll be able to have with German governments? And then Chancellor Merkel, what do you anticipate could be the concession points that you would be willing to give to the administration in terms of that negotiation?
Well, Kevin, I think we have a very unified Republican Party. After all, we have the presidency, we have the House, we have the Senate, and we're getting along very well, I will tell you. And if you were at the meeting that I just attended, where we took 12 no's or semi-no's, no yeses, and within a short period of time, everybody was very much on board, and a commitment to vote yes. I think we have a very unified party. I think actually more unified than even the election. You see, when they talk about me, I seem to be very popular, at least this week, within the party, because we have our highest numbers, the highest numbers that I've ever had in the party. So I think there's a great unification. Healthcare is a very, very difficult subject. It's a very complex subject, and it's a subject that, goes both ways. You do something for one side, and the other side doesn't like it. But it's really something that's come together very well, and I think it's going to be very, very popular, extremely popular. On trade, with Germany, I think we're going to do fantastically well. Right now, I would say that the negotiators for Germany have done a far better job than the negotiators for the United States. But hopefully we can even it out. we don't want victory, we want fairness. All I want is fairness. Germany's done very well in its trade deals with the United States, and I give them credit for it. And I can speak to many other countries. I mean, you look at China, you look at virtually any country that we do business with, it's not exactly what you call good for our workers. I mean, you look at the horrible NAFTA transaction. NAFTA has been a disaster for the United States. It's been a disaster for companies, and in particular, it's been a disaster for the workers. A lot of the companies just moved. But the workers are strewn. It's probably the reason I'm standing here. Maybe number one, that, and maybe the military, building up our military, which we will do, and we will be stronger than ever before, and hopefully not have to use it. But we will be stronger, and perhaps far stronger than ever before. But it's probably the reason I'm here, is when you talk about trade. So I think that we are going to be a very different country. I think we're going to have great values, but in terms of our military, it's going to be much stronger, and our trade deals are going to be good, solid deals, not deals that lead to closing plants and tremendous unemployment. Okay? Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Wenn wir über
When we speak about trade agreements, then the European Union is negotiating those agreements for all of the member states of the European Union. But obviously there's also input by the member states. They bring to the table what's important to them. We have underlined as German industry, German business community, and have made the experience that any kind of agreement that we have concluded, for example, at the very latest with South Korea, brought us more jobs, actually. People were very much concerned about losing jobs, for example, the automotive industry, but in the end it turned out, particularly as regards South Korea, in the end it turned out that both sides benefited. And I think it's only fair. That's the purpose of concluding agreements, that both sides win, and that is the sort of spirit, I think, in which we ought to be guided in negotiating any agreement between the United States of America and the EU. I hope that we can resume the agreement that we started. We have just now concluded an agreement with Canada, and I hope that we will come back to the table and talk about the agreement between EU and the US again. Mr. Graf, please. Thank you. Ansgar Graf from Die Welt. Madam Chancellor, a question addressed to you. Today, we're talking about trade. The President in the past always said that he doesn't like multilateral trade agreements but prefers bilateral trade agreements. Do you think, from the EU's point of view, TTIP is a bilateral agreement with Washington on one side, the EU on the other side? Now, is the problem maybe that America, the President of the United States, and the Europeans have a basically different understanding of what the EU is all about? That's my question addressed to you. And, Mr. President, my question addressed to you, if I may.
Rejected White House claims that the alleged wiretapping on you, on the Trump Tower, on Trump Organization, or on members of your campaign was that British intelligence was either responsible for it or involved in it. After these claims are rejected, what is your take on that? Are there other suspects, or do you think it was a mistake to blame British intelligence for this? And by the way, my second question, are there from time to time tweets that you regret in hindsight?
Very seldom.
Very seldom,
Very
and
seldom.
you would have, so you never would have
Very
wished
seldom.
not to have
Probably
tweeted
wouldn't be here
something.
right now, but so very seldom. We have a tremendous group of people that listen, and I can get around the media when the media doesn't tell the truth, so I like that. As far as wiretapping, I guess, by this past administration, at least we have something in common, perhaps. And just to finish your question, we said nothing. All we did was quote a certain very talented legal mind who was the one responsible for saying that on television. I didn't make an opinion on it. That was a statement made by a very talented lawyer on Fox. And so you shouldn't be talking to me, you should be talking to Fox. Okay?
Thank you.
Ja, ich glaube, dass der Präsident
Well, I believe that the President has clearly set out his philosophy as to what trade agreements have to bring about for the American side as well. I personally don't think that Germany needs to negotiate and not the European Union. We've devolved our competences to the European Union, so the European Union, or rather the Commission, negotiates on behalf of the member states. So that's not going to prevent us from concluding agreements. For me, indeed, this would be then qualify as a bilateral agreement between the EU and the United States if we had it. But the question is, will it be of benefit to both countries or not? And let me be very honest, very candid. A free trade agreement with the United States of America has not always been all that popular in Germany either. There have been less demonstrations against this free trade agreement in the United States than in Europe and also in Germany. So I am very glad to note that apparently the sort of perspective on that has changed a little bit, at least in Germany too.
Thank you very much. Great honor. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
And assume that people can hear me out there. Oh yes, great. So cool. So lots of interesting stuff said. It was about, I want to say about 6 questions or so during that news briefing. And I'm Steve Lookner. This is Right Side Broadcasting. This is the post-show coverage of the President Trump, Angela Merkel news conference. And if you want to write in, I would love to hear your comments. What do you think about the news conference? Anything that caught your ear? Anything in particular you thought was interesting? I wrote down a bunch of stuff I'll talk about, but I really want to hear from you. So if you want to write in, you can go to @Lookner on Twitter, @Lookner, Lookner. That's my Twitter, and direct message me, or email me at steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. And before I even get to my comments, I just want to see if any of you wrote anything yet here. I was listening into the news conference, so I didn't get really a chance to check my Twitter as the news conference was going on. Okay, I think we're good in terms of people writing and stuff. There's some stuff people wrote before. But let me go through that first. So I will say that there was at CCAA Judge Capito wrote in, "Hi, I am watching from Düren, Germany, and I like President Donald Trump. We Germans need a Trump." That's from at CCAA Judge Capito. So thank you for watching from Germany. We had that. And we had another question from SH7401, who he said, "Do you know how much the super chat money you keep per donation? Is it a percentage of what we donate?" I won't go into the donation thing now. I'll go into it in a second. But basically, if you want to donate and continue letting us bring coverage of this kind of stuff to you, and coverage of the rallies to you, and coverage of CPAC to you, we rely on your donations to stay on the air. If you're watching live now, just go to the super chat and click that $sign. And I think I was told it was 90% of the money you donate by clicking on that $sign below the super chat. I think the commission we pay is only 10%, so we get 90% of the money. So it's not like all the money goes to somebody else. Basically, almost all of it goes directly to us, and then it helps keep us on the air. So thank you for donating. Or if you want to donate, go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Okay, so let's talk about this briefing here. There was, I just wrote a bunch of things down that President Trump said that were interesting. He said, so he talked about NATO, and he said, he said he is a strong supporter of NATO. So he didn't say he doesn't support NATO. He says he's a strong supporter of NATO, but he said nations must pay their fair share. So some people question whether he's a strong supporter of NATO, but it seems to me, from what he said, he wants to stay in NATO and supports it, but he does want nations to pay their fair share, and he said that they had a good conversation about that. I think he said something like Germany, and he had talked with Chancellor Merkel about them paying like 2% of their GDP. There's some number they're all supposed to pay. So they talked about that. He also said, they talked about how President Trump said immigration security is national security. So he thinks getting immigration security right, having secure borders is a national security issue. He mentioned that. He talked about... He said over lunch they will talk about trade. President Trump, actually Angela Merkel might have said that. I can't remember who said the over lunch thing, but they said that over lunch they will talk about trade. And Another thing that President Trump said is he was asked about the health bill, and he said that he met with some people from Congress this morning, some Congress people, and he said, according to him, that there were 12 of them who were no's or semi-no's on the health bill, and by the end of the meeting, they were yeses. That's what he said. So that seems, if that's true, that he's making progress on converting people to the health bill. And he said he said it's going to get passed. He said it's going to be passed quickly. That's what he said. So I'm not sure if he was just talking about the House or the House and the Senate, but he did say it was going to be passed. I'm guessing he must have been talking about both houses, but I don't know for sure. And he also said that the press has covered the health bill inaccurately. They've given an inaccurate picture of what's in the bill. And he mentioned the great crowd he had at the rally at Nashville when he talked about the health bill a couple days ago, back on Wednesday. And if you haven't seen that rally, watch it on Right Side. We've posted the whole rally and all of our pre-coverage and post-coverage of the rally, where we interview people at the rally and see what they're concerned with and hear their personal stories. We interview people in line at the rally. So you can watch that at Right Side Broadcasting if you haven't yet. And just know, we are going to be covering the rally on Monday from Louisville, where President Trump is also going to be talking about the healthcare bill there. It's always quite a cool experience being at the rallies. People are really psyched to have President Trump there, and we meet a lot of great Americans, so we hope you tune in on Monday. We will have hours of pre-coverage even before the rally starts. So I will be there. I'm going from here. I'm here in Nashville right now. I'm going to Louisville soon to cover it. I know Margaret Howell will be there. So we're looking forward to bringing that to you. I have some other thoughts, some other things I wrote down from the briefing, but I wanted to first see if you had more comments. I'd love to hear your comments on the press conference with President Trump and Angela Merkel. If you want to send those in, go to my Twitter at Lookner and message me there at LOOKNER, or email me at steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. We have the PC Stops Here writes in, international and German press condescending to Trump, who stands his ground, Merkel diplomatic. So that you're pointing out the PC Stops Here. I know there was that one question where somebody said to President Trump, a reporter said, "Why don't you like more diversity in the news media?" And he, in his response, that reporter also said something about President Trump being an isolationist. And President Trump said, "Well, I'm not an isolationist." And he said, I don't like fake news. That's something I don't like. And he did say something like, you say I'm an isolationist, but I'm not. I'm just somebody who likes fair trade, not just unrestrained trade. He said, I'm pro-trade, but I want fair trade. And he said, I'm not an isolationist. And that's another example of the kind of fake news I don't like. So that's a paraphrase of some of the things he said in his answer. But also, when the person asked the question, he said, "Really friendly reporter," sarcastically, about the reporter who asked the question. So that was your take on it, PC Stops Here. Thank you for your comment. Blessed says, after witnessing that, I'm fully convinced now President Trump will be a worldwide peacemaker. So Blessed, you liked, I think, the way he interacted with Angela Merkel, and you think he's making progress toward having good relations with her. Thank you, Blessed, for your comment. Colonel Ben Bannister writes, President Trump shows great consistency in standing up for America and its citizens, and he's not afraid to say it to world leaders. Thank you, Colonel Ben, for your comment. Solomon's Temple writes, Trump very cold, no eye contact, hard negotiations happening right now. This is a very interesting point you make, Solomon's Temple. So I noticed some people on Twitter, some of the media were saying that there was an appearance President Trump did with Angela Merkel before the press conference. And they were sitting, I believe, in the Oval Office. And at one point, according to reports, I haven't watched the video yet, the reporters say, can we get a handshake? And Angela Merkel says to Donald Trump, hey, how about, do you want to make a handshake? And I think President Trump didn't respond. So, and I don't know if he didn't hear her or something, but they didn't shake hands. And a number of reporters were saying, like, terrible body language, they're not getting along. But one thing I noticed is at the end of the press conference, they did do a handshake. And second of all, something you're pointing out, Solomon's Temple, is if they're not like having making all buddy and friendly, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because perhaps you're saying, Solomon's Temple, that's part of negotiating strategy. That you say Trump very cold, no eye contact, hard negotiation. So maybe it's part of a negotiating strategy. So people really like to read into the body language of these things. Personally, I think it's hard to read into body language. I mean, you can tell if people are really joking around and laughing and stuff. But you know what? Sometimes when people are joking around on the outside and seeming friendly on the outside, they're not getting along that well on the inside, and vice versa. So I think it's hard to read in exactly what's going on with their negotiating from their body language at the press briefing. And you don't know. We'll at the press conference, we'll see what happens. But I appreciate your comment, Solomon's Temple. JC. Yeah, and so JC actually sent the tweet out that said no handshake for this traitor of the... somebody sent out a handshake. Somebody sent out AR News 1936 said no handshake for this traitor of the Western world. Fantastic action by Donald Trump. So there's a video, and I'll pull up the video here. I can't show it to you, but... Okay, so what it looks like happened is they're both sitting in the Oval Office. This is before the press conference. And a reporter says, can we get a handshake? And Merkel says to President Trump, do you want a handshake? And President Trump doesn't react. But the thing is, it was right at the end of the press conference, and some people were like, okay, guys, thank you. And also, other reporters were shouting out at that time. So I don't even know if President Trump heard her. I mean, he could have heard her and ignored her, or he could have just not heard her. Either is possible if you watch the video. But I also know that at the end of the press conference, President Trump and her shook hands. So we got the handshake. So thank you, JC, for sending that in. This is the post show for the President Trump and Angela Merkel press conference, which you saw here live at Right Side Broadcasting. I'm Steve Lookner. I'm coming to you from Nashville because I'm in Nashville because I was just covering the rally here for Right Side, and we are covering President Trump's rally Monday from Louisville. Looking forward to bringing that to you, so I'll be going straight there from here. Hope you can watch it and join us there then on Monday. And if you like our coverage of the rallies, again, it's not cheap for us to cover those rallies. I can tell you the internet, for just having the internet for the Louisville rally is going to be in 4 digits. That's how much the internet costs, just so we can plug our camera in and bring you the good stream. So in addition, there's travel and all that stuff, but we think it's important to give you the full rally coverage, not the mainstream media coverage where they show you maybe either all or some of President Trump's speech, but nothing else. We think you want to see the speakers before President Trump. We think you want to have us talk to the crowd and hear about the people who are there and let them tell their stories. So we do that for you. We think it's important that we can show you when the press says there are empty seats. I posted photos on Twitter of all the people in line still waiting to get into the rally who didn't manage to get in, even when the rally was over. So we want to bring you live coverage of all President Trump's rallies. It's not cheap to do so, though. So we really are able to do it thanks to your donations. So if you'd like to donate to us and help us continue our coverage here at Right Side, we really appreciate it. You can either, if you're watching this live, and the chat room is next to the feed. So if you see me and then you'll see a chat room next to it, at the bottom of the chat room, click on the $sign. If you click on the $sign, that lets you donate very easily. Or you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Any amount is appreciated. It keeps us on the air. Thank you so much for all your donations. Thank you to the moderators for moderating the chat today. I want to get back to your questions and your comments. And if you want to send in a question or comment, either direct message me at @Lookner on Twitter, @Lookner, or email me at steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. We have another question here. It's signed from Connor Wells. Connor says, "Hi, Steve. I found that press conference very interesting. President Trump absolutely destroying the mainstream media. Do you think it's a sign of a good relationship?" So are you saying, Connor, is this a sign of a good relationship with the press or with Angela Merkel? I don't necessarily think President Trump's relationship with the press is as bad as some are portraying it. I mean, he does publicly comment on it, but, if you go back to, say, Josh Earnest's press briefings, there was some friction there between Josh Earnest was press secretary under President Obama. There was some friction there between him and the press. And I know President Trump calls out the press in maybe ways that President Obama didn't, but I think there's always some some tension between the press and the president because the press wants information. The president might not want to give it. And I do think with the press now, there's a number of them who are very anti-Trump, personally. But at the same time, I don't think the relationship is necessarily like horrible or irreparable. I think they're feeling each other out. Maybe it could be better, but I also think, President Trump is willing to call them on stuff. Well, it could be better, but I think it could be worse, and we'll see where it goes. And as to whether President Trump and Angela Merkel have a good relationship, I talked about that a little earlier. Hard to tell from a press briefing, She visited, that's good. Hard to tell. There's a lot of people who don't act all buddy-buddy, but really respect each other. That could be happening. So, don't know. We will see how President Trump and Angela Merkel interact over the coming months, and if she's elected again over the coming years, but we'll see if she gets elected again. Don't know. This is a comment from Michael. Michael writes in and says, I feel as if the German Chancellor was staying on Trump's good side. Seems she wants to have a good friendship. Very possible, very possible. We'll see what happens. But that's very possible. Thank you for your take on that, Michael. The PC stops here. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up. I'd written this down in my notes too. There was an interesting moment where you say, PC stops here, says, regarding wiretapping, Trump responds brilliantly, something we, Merkel and he, share in common. Obama surveillance of Merkel too. So there was that story that came out under the Obama administration where, was it some of her emails were were surveyed by the Obama administration? Sorry, I want to look this up just to get the facts right. So we have Merkel, Obama, email. Let's see if this if this gets the story up on Google here. I can't find it here. But anyways, I know that, let me just try one more thing. Email, tapping. Let's see if I can get that. Yes, so this is back from, we have a story from the Telegraph UK that I just pulled up here about, that says, sorry, I'm pulling it up just to get you the exact story right. Barack Obama approved tapping Angela Merkel's phone. This was a story from the Telegraph in the UK. So when, as you say, the PC stops here, you said that when President Trump was asked about the wiretapping stuff, the wiretapping accusations in the press conference, one remark he made is he said it's something we share in common. So it seems like he is still holding to his claim that he was wiretapped by the Obama administration. But there was a funny, whether you think it's funny depends on you. But he thought it was it was attempted a joke, and I know what PC stops here. You thought it was funny, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers thought it was funny. So he did say that. If you haven't watched that, it's worth watching. It comes right at the end of the press conference, a remark. I like that President Trump, even on serious matters, is always willing to throw some humor in there. I personally like that. Maybe other people don't. I think it's cool. He jokes around a lot more than people give him credit for. I think he has a good sense of humor. Let's see here. We're on for a few more minutes here. This is the post-show of the President Trump, Angela Merkel news conference, which was just broadcast here at Right Side Broadcasting. If you didn't catch it, go back and rewind the feed and watch it. Happy to bring it to you. We're here taking your comments and your questions. If you'd like to send any comments or questions in, either go to my Twitter, which is @Lookner, @LOOKNER. Feel free to follow me if you want there too, or email me at steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. A bunch of people sent me emails, so I want to get to those. Gary DeVries from Canada says, Steve Jacob, greatly anticipated every one of your Trump events during the campaign. Getting conservative TV and print media coverage in Canada is almost impossible without the internet. Your common person views and pioneering enthusiasm is honest and contagious. Probably God used you among others in the new media to help Trump get his stirring message out to an eager and receptive world audience and into the White House in the nick of time. Your labor and sacrifice is very much appreciated. Gary DeVries, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Gary, thank you so much. It's very nice of you. We're glad that you can watch this in Canada. I know we have viewers around the world. We have viewers in the UK and in Germany and New Zealand and other places. So we want to bring this news to anyone out there who wants to watch it. We want to be an alternative to the mainstream media. And when we get emails like this, it's really great because we do this for you, and we really appreciate your thanks. So thanks for saying thanks. Let's go. We have some more emails here. This is from Sean Gillum said he loved, I don't know, it's S-H-A-U-N, I'm going to assume it's a he. He loved Trump calling that German reporter fake news, albeit indirectly. Yeah, so he did do that. We talked about it a little earlier on the post show here. If you want to watch that, go back and rewind the news conference on this very video. Great thing about Right Side is you can go watch all the news conferences repeatedly, or go, if you have a couple days later, if you want to go watch a particular moment, you can go back and do it. If you want to go back and watch our CPAC coverage, you can go do that right now. Or the rally from Thursday. It's always here at Right Side. We keep all of it up there on our site. Watch all of it. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube as well. You'll hear about all the latest Right Side videos. You subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you do that, be sure to click the little bell. There's a bell icon. If you click that, that allows you to get a notification whenever we're putting a video up on the air. It could be a video, could be a live stream, some breaking news. So click the icon, the bell icon, if you subscribe to us. This is another comment from, or a question. Let me see. I'll open it up. This is from Thomas Kriebler. No, it's Kriesler. I saw the German B or some symbol in the original name, but it's Thomas Kriesler. I don't know how to pronounce it. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Thomas. Thomas says, I have been watching every Trump rally from Germany, and I support Donald Trump over crooked Merkel. She's a disgrace. Believe me, I would have voted for Donald J. Trump if I had been eligible. Best from Germany. Hello in Germany, Thomas. Thank you for watching. Several people have messaged me today and said they're watching from Germany. So I love that we have some watchers and viewers in Germany. And it's great of you to watch your leader's co-press conference right here at Right Side. So is there a Right Side broadcasting something like that in Germany? I don't know. I don't know what the German word for Right Side is. So I don't know what it would be called. But anyways, we love having you here. We are glad you watch. Okay, more messages. Thank you for all the messages you sent in. This is from Pat Condelli, HRM Pat Condelli, the Cookie Queen. HRM, what does HRM stand for? I should know this, I feel like. HRM abbreviation. Watch, I'm going to look it up and then I'm going to feel like an idiot that I didn't know this. Her Royal Majesty? I don't know, Pat. Probably because you say the Cookie Queen. So, HRM. His Royal Majesty, her Royal Majesty. Anyway, enough time wasted on me trying to figure out what HRM means. Anyways, Patricia, you write in, love that Trump got in a dig at Obama in alluding to the wiretapping of Merkel by Obama. He said, at least we have something in common. You know, this is a great point you make, Pat Condelli. And I was just, I watched that remark and my thought was like, oh, he's referring to the Obama administration wiretapping. But it is, you know, it is a dig at Obama. He didn't have to do it. And it's the kind of thing I'm sure President Obama watched it and he's angry. But, you know, we've seen President Trump and President Obama, and sometimes Hillary Clinton, they dig at each other, and all in good sport. But President Trump is someone, he'll defend himself, and he doesn't mind taking a dig at somebody else. So that was a neat moment. I think it's neat either way. Even if you don't like it, I think it's neat because at least he's a human being as president, and he's not a robot. And everything he says is not pre-planned and pre-packaged. And he says things off the cuff, and I like that. We have another message here. Let me get to it. Sorry, I lost my email for a second. This one is from Sean Gillum writes, why does Trump not focus on tax reform, especially the border-adjusted cash flow tax? So what he's doing, as far as I'm aware, is the thing presidents often do, which is focus on one thing at a time. You know, it's so hard to get any legislation passed in Congress, and you have to focus on, you know, working the Congress people and also talking to the public and getting your message out there and doing PR. And if President Trump is trying to work on several things at once, I'm guessing he feels like he can't give adequate attention to that. It's going to take. He talked about how he thinks it's going to be passed, but it's going to be it's a long road and a difficult road to pass this legislation, this healthcare legislation, because different people want different things out of the health bill, and he wants his. So often presidents they focus on one thing at once because you want to keep Congress focused on one thing. You want to keep the public focused on one thing. If you try to do too much at once, you might get nothing done. So He has said, Sean, that he does intend to do tax reform in the future after he does the health bill, sometime after that. But he's not going to focus. He doesn't want to focus on both of them at once because that might end up in not having enough energy and messaging to devote to both of them, and not being able to do all the things he needs to do to focus on both, to get both of them passed. And so he's focusing on one at a time. That's the plan, at least right now. And I understand why he's doing it. But a good question, Sean. Thank you. Okay, we have a few minutes left here on our post show of the Trump-Merkel press conference at Right Side Broadcasting. If you want to get in your question here at the end of the broadcast, thank you for joining me so far. Appreciate it. You can reach me at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. Direct message me there. Or email me at steve.lookner@rspn.tv. Let me know what you thought of the briefing. Would love to know. Andrew Sova said, I would love to see... can someone get a small clip of when President Trump gave that answer about fake news? So if anyone back at the office can make it, we do have a request from Andrew Sova for a part of the clip of the part of the press briefing where President Trump talked about fake news. So if they can do that, they will. Andrew says, I'd love to see that moment again. So your request is duly noted. I pass it along to the home base. Andrew, thanks. Solomon's Temple writes, interesting that Germany reporter equates nationalism to isolation. Is this EU propaganda? Well, I don't know where this reporter was from. I don't know this reporter's background who talked about President Trump being an isolationist. So I believe maybe some of the people watching this broadcast from Europe, they have a better answer to this question than I have. But it's an interesting question. Thank you for the question, Solomon's Temple. Appreciate it. Let me check here real quick. Something else. I want to check my email again, make sure I'm not ignoring anyone who emailed. We have, Pat Condelli says, yes, Her Royal Majesty, I am the cookie queen. I make a lot of cookies. You know what? You wrote in, I'll give you a shout out. You wrote in a good comment, so I'll give you a shout out, Pat. She says, go check out my website, cookie